Welcome, ladies and gentlemen, and viewers of Public Access Television here on Channel 52 in the TCI of Oakland County area, Channel 18 of the Americast area. Welcome to Studio G. We're here in the back of Community Media Network's own office area in Troy, and tonight is the premiere event for our studio's grand opening. You also happen to be here on tonight, our open house. If you haven't heard yet, Community Media Network is the manager of public access television here in Southeast Oakland County, and we're proud to say that we have done everything we can to keep public access alive for you, and we hope that you take great advantage of the utilities of the equipment and make a good utilitarian use of all the equipment and programming availability that we have for you here. What I'm going to do tonight basically is cook. It could be a different hobby. It could be your hobby. Ideally, you'd be the person who decides what's important to put on this channel tonight. This just happens to be something that I think I can do without thinking too much, and I'll do it for you here tonight. Live. There will be no food already prepared waiting in an oven. I'm actually going to cook it here, so if I burn myself, if I stain my shirt, if I cut my finger up, you're going to see it right here on channel, well, 52 or 18. It doesn't matter really at this point which channel you're watching because you're on it. Okay, what we're making here tonight in this very modest setup is basically a dip that you can use to entertain for a party or for an engagement in your own home. And this occasion tonight for our open house, I was going to use shrimp, but because I was in a store that didn't have shrimp and I was running out of time, I decided to go with something more efficient, cheap. It's called sea legs or crab with a K. It's a fake kind of crab substance. It's seafood made with whitefish or pollock, various North Pacific fish, and it's very tasty. But most people find it a little bit common for everyday use. You wouldn't certainly pick one of these crab or sea legs up in your hand, just munch on it. It might taste pretty good, actually. I've had it that way, but I've got a little tired of using just mayonnaise and onions and kind of making a sandwich out of it. So I decided to put our little micro burner here to use. Got a frying pan, a few ingredients, and we'll try to dress this food up a little bit tonight and see what happens. Like I said, it's all live, so it may take 10 minutes, it may take 15. Hope you enjoy it. And hey, if you like the program and you think I can cook reasonably well enough, let us know. Give us a call at Community Media Network. Our phone number is 248-589-7778. Maybe you would like to get on the program, cook something that's special to you. Let me know. My name's Jay Wiencko, and I'd love to hear from you. Well, let's get started. Like I said, we've got these sea legs, and we've got a few other ingredients that I'll saute up in the pan before we add the sea legs, and that would be scallions and some red and green peppers. As you can see right here, I've already chopped these up because I really didn't want to risk chopping my finger off in front of you. So I've got these ingredients already prepared. We'll put those in the frying pan as soon as it gets heated up, which, speaking of, I'll turn this sucker right on. We're going to move over here and actually cut up the sea legs. I've kind of stacked these up, and what I'll do is, you can see these are ingredients that are kind of rolled, a rolled product, and it's kind of in concentric circles, and you'll see that they kind of spread out into rings, so it just lends itself naturally to a disc-shaped piece, easily chewable. It's very tender. We'll just cut these up into disc-size pieces. Very simple to cut through, no bones in these. All right, where's the Community Media dog? I just dropped a piece. Anyways, we've got these pieces all cut up here. Got the burner, it's starting to heat up. I'll get the frying pan on there, start getting it warm. One of the other important ingredients that I like to use in any kind of a meal is garlic. You'll find garlic in my house just about any time. I prefer the fresh version as opposed to the canned or the powdered or dehydrated form. But basically what I'll do here is cut off a few cloves, and I don't pretend to be shy with the garlic. I really like it, so in this particular case, I'm going to cut off probably about, I don't know, whatever falls off. Just break this thing up and, who knows, maybe 5 or 6 cloves. There's so many things you can do with garlic, and interestingly enough, a lot of how garlic ends up tasting when you're finished or when you're using it in your meal is based on how you cut it up. And in this case, I think I'm going to mix it up. I'll show you what I mean. Basically, it's either diced up, minced up, or chopped up, or you can leave it whole. And it all depends on how you cook it as to what kind of flavor it lends to the meal you're making. If you chop it up really fine and saute it, it'll tend to brown a little bit, or if you don't cook it quite as long, it will impart a lot of its oils and juices into there. But the essential part of getting the flavor out of the garlic is really smashing it, and it's also the easiest way to peel a piece of garlic. A lot of people spend a lot of time with their hands like this trying to peel a piece of garlic. The best thing to do is just take a nice flat knife on the side, smash it, pick it up by the tail end of the skin, and just pinch it, and it rolls right out. You got yourself a shucked piece of garlic. Once it's smashed like that, what happens is all the oils in that garlic just kind of exit from the piece itself, and you can count on a lot of that oil and flavor exiting right into the meal that you're making. So let's go ahead and smash a few more pieces here. It's a lot of fun at this time of day. You know, you've spent the whole day preparing for an open house, and you know, you expect about 200 people here, and really only about 7 show up, so I'm just kidding. We've got a good turnout. I think we got about 20 people up to this point, right, Marlo? Cease. We've got Cease Kunith on camera. We've got Neil Jordan on camera. And we've got Keith Hillick up on the loft cam, way up there, giving you the overhead shot. Hopefully when I get this stuff in the frying pan, you'll take a look at what's going on in the frying pan from up there. This is all the first time we've ever done any of this, folks, right here from Studio G. I'll get this garlic all piled up into a mound, and I'll start chopping it up. I'm not really worried about getting it all even. Some pieces may be thicker than others. Some pieces you're going to notice when you chew it. Some other pieces are going to be so small that it's just going to blend right into it. You know, I can take this and mince it up. Not really mince it, but just kind of a coarse chopping. Oh, that's nice. Now, let's get this frying pan ready. All right. I'm going to take some nice butter here, lather up this pan, get it going. And what we're going to do is once this mixture is sautéed, we'll add to the elegance. I like to say that. Why not? We're taking a pretty common product, mostly known for its economy, the sea leg. Certainly have never gone out into the ocean looking for sea legs before. It's basically made from the species of fish that are caught when they're trying to catch other more valuable fish, but they happen to pull in a few pollock or other such fish. This stuff doesn't go to waste. It goes into making sea legs, and it's very tasty. It's not bad. These cost, I think they were 2 for $1, so 50 cents a leg. And that's pretty reasonable. In fact, when you look at seafood overall, I have to be honest with you, seafood isn't as expensive as you think it is. And I encourage eating seafood because I grew up on the East Coast. I'm a real seafood lover. I grew up on the water. I enjoyed crabbing and clamming and all those types of ocean-based activities. And I would encourage people to eat seafood. I'm telling you, I'm a seafood evangelist here in the Midwest. I'll just add those scallions right in here. Let's get them cooking. We'll get the scallions cooking here on burner number 1. I don't anticipate needing burner number 2, but I'll turn up the heat just a little bit on low, so in case things get out of control here, I can move it over onto that one. I don't do that at home, but since I'm doing it for you, I'll take the extra step, and it's not my electricity bill. Not that I worry about that at home. Okay, so I've got my garlic all chopped up. That's a good-sized mound. How much would you say? Probably about half cup, easy, maybe a third, 2/3 of a cup. I've got easily a cup full of scallions. That was 3 bunches that I diced up, and really you only take about the last 2 or 3 inches off the base. You cut the base and the roots off, of course, and you take the stems off the top and use those as garnish tonight in the cheese and meat tray. A nice garnish spread out over the platter. It looks nice. Like to see this burner getting a little hotter, but in the meantime, I can show you a little bit about some of the herbs and the seasonings that we'll be using. One of the most versatile ingredients I think I have in my cabinet is called herbes de Provence, and I'm not a French major, so I don't know if I pronounced that properly or not, but this stuff is great. My brother-in-law Rick, who flies for the airlines, travels a lot to France, and he brought this back for me, and it's too bad you can't smell it, but the aroma that comes out of here, and it's really a blend of herbs, and I'll try to translate because the ingredients are in French, and I got this at one point. It says, okay, it's got thyme, okay, here it is. Yeah, sarriette, I don't know what that is. I would say there's rosemary, there's sage, marjoram, oregano, basil, thyme, and in proportions variable, in various proportions. Excellent stuff. I use this on my roasts. I'll take a roast, a nice pork roast, rub it with some Crisco or just basically give it a massage with some vegetable oil, and I'll spread this on top of it, kind of work it into the meat, and it tastes great. It just roasts a pork fantastic. This stuff is good on just about any kind of meat. I've used it in soups, and I'm going to use it today here just to add a little pizzazz to this, this dip made with faux crab, or sea legs, if you will. We've also got some seasonings here that I picked up. I'm a real seasoning nut. If I see something on the shelf that looks different than what I have at home, I'll usually get it, and I tend to like something that has a distinct, sharp flavor. This is something called Cajun blackened fish seasoning. I've got a lot of fish in the freezer right now, folks. Jerry Kunith will attest to that. He got me going to Alaska this past summer, and I landed some pretty big halibut and salmon, and consequently they're residing in my freezer right now. So I'm planning on using this blackened fish seasoning on some of those pieces of fillets. I haven't as of yet, but I have tried it, sprinkled a little bit in my hand, and actually I'll do that for you now. I'll give you an idea what it tastes like. It's a little bit salty. Has a little bit of a, it's kicking in the back of my tongue right now. I won't add too much of this, but basically it's got some spices, salt, dehydrated onion, garlic, monosodium glutamate. Can't avoid that these days. Corn syrup, solids, soy sauce, solids, sugar, caramel color. Nothing really extravagant. I've seen more exotic spices, but I picked this up because I was out of my Cajun seasoning. Basically, these scallions are taking a little longer than I wanted, so I think we're looking probably at a 30-minute show. Gauge your time appropriately now. I'm going to, pretty soon I'll add the peppers in there. Now, a little note about cooking. You may already know this. I'm not going to assume that you don't, but I'll remind those of you who've forgotten. I'll instruct some of those who may or may not know this. If you're cooking in a fast process, and sauteing typically is faster than this, you don't want certain foods to come out overcooked. You don't want some foods to come out undercooked. It all depends on how easily the food absorbs the heat, how fast it tends to cook. Now here I've got green peppers and red peppers, same basic vegetable we're talking about, obviously. But I wanted the red peppers because, first of all, visually they're going to make this meal kind of jump out to the eye. And secondly, I didn't want them to become soft and mushy. I want them to stay a little bit firm. But I want the green peppers to go ahead and cook a little bit more than the red peppers. So I chopped up the green peppers into smaller pieces, leaving the red ones a little bit larger so that when they cook at the same time, I'm going to dump this whole thing in at the same time, one will appear more cooked or taste more cooked than the other. It's basically just how you cut it. Another thing about visual qualities, and that would be, and I learned this cooking in Chinese cooking, where visual appeal is as important as the ingredients and as the taste of a meal. There's a symmetry or a poetry involved in cooking in the Chinese culinary arts. If you look at the scallions, what kind of shape are they cut into? They're cut into disc shapes. The sea legs are also cut into disc shapes. Does it mean a difference when you taste the food? No. But when you do look at it, if you're paying attention, I think there's another dimension of appreciation of the food when you see food that was prepared with some kind of notion as to how it appears when it's presented on a plate. I'm not going to present this really in a fancy way tonight because it's a dip and because I didn't buy any garnishes to make it look fancy. You should if you're entertaining. But when you see the symmetry, or at least some forethought, some preparation put into how the foods are going to look with each other, among each other. You'll find in a Chinese meal, for example, if you order like chicken with cashews, all the pieces are going to be in approximately the same size, diced up into pieces about a ½ inch cubed. Whereas if you order a different meal that have larger pieces, longer strands of broccoli, that's a different style. But they'll do that, and they'll keep things prepared and chopped, and they will appear as if they're meant to be with one another. Okay, so these scallions are cooked up. They're not overly cooked at this point. What I'm going to do is add the peppers in here now. Actually, I changed my mind. I should have added the garlic a little while ago, but I'm going to dump that in now. Put a little switch on the camera operators here, one from left to right. By the way, if you're interested in producing a program like this, I'd encourage you to give us a call at 248-589-7778. We have a camera class, which is the starting point for production classes that begins on April 12th. That's a Monday from 6 to 9 p.m. Keith Hillock is the instructor for that class. Does a great job. Learning how to use a camera is not that difficult. It takes about 3 weeks, 3 separate occasions on Monday nights to accomplish that, after which time you can take the camera out and use it to videotape maybe yourself cooking at home or doing your own activities that you prefer. So we've got the garlic in there. You can really start to smell this. It's starting to smell really good. I'm going to put the, I'll put the peppers in now. Okay, got the peppers in there. It's starting to look real pretty. Got the red and the green. You know, I could have just stayed with green peppers, but you know, adding the red in there, it looks pretty. It just looks dynamite. It just sets it off, makes it catch on fire visually. And again, it also mirrors the red that these sea legs have. Now these, as I said, these sea legs aren't found naturally in the ocean, but I don't know what this red is. I mean, it's probably some kind of harmless dye, I hope, but it's red. And that's going to mirror the look of the red peppers in there. Now these aren't going to cook too long, so I'm going to go ahead and put the sea legs in here to get them warm because they're kind of cold. That'll cool things off in the pan itself. It'll slow some of the cooking down if I mix it up anyways. Keep that in mind when you're sauteing. The more ingredients you add, and if they're cold, that's going to lower the overall heating temperature of your pan. So it's going to slow the cooking down a little bit. And that's okay. That's really what I'm looking for right here. I want the sea legs to warm up. I want them to start to break up a little bit. I really want this burner to start getting a little hotter, but there's not much I can do about that. So I'll move ahead into the seasonings. Herbs de Provence, we talked about that. Let's move ahead to the herbs de Provence, and I'll just spill out a bit into my hand, probably way too much. I don't need to use a lot of that. If you see it right there, it's basically a dry granulated herb. I'll just sprinkle some in there. A little bit goes a long way with this. So really I'm using about a half a teaspoon total. That's enough of that. I'm going to hold off on the blackening seasoning at the moment. Always keep your mind open when you're cooking. Never be completely decided, especially if you're improvising, which I'm doing. I never made this meal before. I kind of dreamed it up this morning, as a matter of fact. I'm not trying to brag. I just, you know, when you've cooked enough, you know what sorts of foods taste well together. I also have, one thing I'd like to mention is how much I like pepper. I was thinking about this today, and I brought my pepper mill. There's really a difference, folks, between freshly ground pepper and the pepper that you have in a shaker at home that's already been ground, that you poured out of a can. Honestly, if you haven't got a pepper mill at home, go get one. And get some fresh peppercorns, put it in the pepper mill, and use ground pepper. Enjoy the flavor and really the other dimensions that fresh ground pepper offers. It's a fantastic seasoning. It's not the bland, just seasoning that tends to make your tongue hot. When you grind it fresh like that, it's really a good ingredient to use. I use it generously, and you can taste the flavor, that the texture actually of a coarsely ground piece of pepper isn't going to set your tongue on fire. It's just a generous seasoning that gives a meal a different flavor. Just sets it off. Something like, it's like salt, only in a different realm, I guess. Speaking of salt, I do have some kosher salt here. I use regular shaker salt, but I brought this because it's in a nice, impressive box, and actually because it tends to kick the flavor off a little bit more significantly. I'm going to add a little bit, and you're asking, why do you put salt into a seafood meal? You don't have to. If you've got a salt-restricted diet, there are other options you can take, such as lemon, and if you do have a salt-restricted diet, you probably know that already. I don't have to tell you that, but salt will kind of brighten the flavor. It'll set it off on your tongue. It just gets those taste buds alive and alert. You don't have to have it. I just choose to use it. I don't salt my fish. If you notice that I'm not looking at the correct camera at all times, it's not because I'm blind, but it's just basically because the tally lights aren't visible on these cameras from this angle. And it's because this is impromptu, really spontaneous television production. And I can't discredit the camera operators. They're doing this as much as they can to get me to look that way, but sometimes I just don't catch them at the right time. So what have we got? We've got the sea legs in there. We've got the scallions. We've got red and green peppers. We've got garlic. We've got butter. What are we missing? I'm looking at one other thing here that's going to make the elegance a little bit higher on the scale. This is a little bit of cooking sherry. Add this in here. I'm going to say probably before I pour it, I have an idea of how much I'm going to use. I'm thinking about a quarter cup, maybe an eighth of a cup. I'll start with that just to get it softened up in there, and let's see what that does. You know, if you cook enough, your nose can actually substitute for your taste buds in a lot of cases. You can smell. That smells great. The cooking sherry, this is a very inexpensive product that you can buy at just about any store, but man alive, it will take a meal like this and it will set it off, and all of a sudden, in your mind, when you smell this, I sense a dark tablecloth on a beautiful table. I see candles lit. I hear the music in the background. This is not sea legs we're cooking anymore. These things are treasures, rare seafood treasures, and it's getting better all the time. If you can see from the loft cam, the sea legs are starting to break up. They're starting to unravel a little bit. The peppers, a little too far along for my preference, but I'm not going to worry about it because that was destined to happen. Everybody's waving this way. Now, the essential element to this meal that's going to transform all the ingredients into something completely different and make it a dip, since that's what we were thinking about. I would eat this right now. I would put that on my plate. I'd have a salad with that. But tonight we're making a dip, so I'm taking some cream cheese. And I'm going to take the cream cheese. I'll cut it into some pieces here, and what we're basically going to do is melt the cream cheese into this meal, into this concoction of delicious ingredients. And it's going to take a few minutes to do that, but once it does, it's going to just soften everything up. And with the sherry in there, with these ingredients, cream cheese, it's a natural, let me tell you. I've already visualized it on my taste buds. I'll give you a little preview of what it tastes like. Close up on my eyes. That's what it tastes like. I can already tell you that. Okay. Starting to soften up. Overall, not too bad on the burner. We can work with this. What do you think of the show so far? We have an audience of 3. What do you think of the show? Are you getting hungry? They're cooperative guests. They were afraid to say anything because they thought this was going out on national television, and they're afraid of the studio time cost. It doesn't cost anything to make a program here. Did you know that? Public access television, at this point anyways, let's hope it stays that way. It doesn't cost anything for you to produce a program. It doesn't take a dime out of your pocket to learn how to make television here. We'll teach you everything, loan you the equipment out. You're responsible for the equipment, but it's not going to cost you anything except your time and your interest and your dedication to this field. All right, this is coming along real well. Have I missed anything? I'm still thinking about this Cajun seasoning. About this time, what I should do, I should taste it. A good cook sticks his finger in the meal, figuratively. I've got some spoons here to see what's going on with the flavor. So I'll take a little bit. I have an asbestos-lined tongue, so it's not going to burn me. Not bad. I can tell you this much. The peppers are a little bolder than I had expected or had wished for. It's not bad. I taste plenty of garlic. The cream cheese obviously gives it a smooth, velvety texture. The sea legs are rather soft, which I expected, so that's not anything that's giving you a crunch. However, I would say the peppers have held up. The red peppers have held up, offering a little difference in texture, just a slight crunch. I'm going to add a little bit more pepper. That is cracked black pepper. I'm going to go ahead with the Cajun seasoning. I'm going to add a little bit more sherry. The sherry is going to just give it a little bit more of an elegant individuality. What does that mean? How does that translate into a flavor? I don't know. I'm using words that just come up out of my head. A little bit more sherry. Okay, so probably overall 1/3 cup. I was kind of light with the sherry before. Now we've got that in there. Man, I'll tell you, when you put the sherry in, it just smells great. I just bought the sherry the other day, and I used it in a meal, which was kind of unusual. I'll tell you about it. Went hunting with my hunting buddy, Jerry Kunith, up in northern Oakland County, and we were fortunate enough to shoot a rabbit. We brought a rabbit back and prepared that in the dish, and I made that in a way, again, it just kind of popped up in my mind. I chopped it up. Rabbit's a lot like chicken when you look at the meat on the bones. You've got a couple of good-sized legs, really about the size of a chicken leg. And I sauteed, I browned those up, I floured them, seasoned them, I browned them in the pan, took them out, and then I added into the pan some garlic, leeks, a lot like this meal, really, where I had scallions and garlic. I used garlic and leeks, a little larger disc, again, because the meat was going to be in bigger chunks. I sauteed those up with onion. No onion. I used garlic and leeks and mushrooms. Yeah, a lot of mushrooms, about an 8 or 12 ounce package of sliced mushrooms. I added the sherry, cooking sherry at the end, and then I added cream, some heavy cream. So I made a cream sauce, reapplied the rabbit back into the pan, put the lid on it, and simmered it for about 10 more minutes, and the meat just melted. It was very good. Rabbit, I shouldn't say melted. Rabbit's a little tougher than that. Didn't exactly melt off the bone, but it was very tasty. And I didn't break any teeth on the shotgun pellets that were in the meat. So that was a successful meal as far as I was concerned. This stuff is really nice and hot. It's I might adjust my recipe next time to cross-section the sea legs because they unravel. They get a little stringy. If you can see, got a fresh spoon here. If you can see some of the piece here, yeah, it's not an appropriate sized piece for a dip. How are you going to put that on a cracker? You're going to dip a cracker and it's going to be dangling off there. So next time I make the adjustment when I take the discs. I'll then cut them, or perhaps an easier way would be to cut the entire sea leg in 4 pieces, once down the side, rotate it 90 degrees, cut it again, and then do the discs. You'd end up in quarter discs. That would be a more appropriate sized piece. Some ingredients here, by the way, let's taste this here again, see how the sherry and the Cajun seasoning has changed this. Very good. I think we're just about a pinch of salt away. My own personal preference on that, but since I'm the cook here tonight, what I say goes. That's the way I cook at home. Shouldn't be anybody that should tell you how not to enjoy your food. If you enjoy making it a certain way and you enjoy eating it that way, eat it. I'm not oblivious to health matters when it comes to what kinds of ingredients I should use and should try to keep in small quantities, but I'm not about to give up enjoying food either. I think this is about done, so perhaps we'll take a moment or two to prepare ourselves for this meal. Just kind of make sure the table's set. Make sure you've got napkins on the table. If this was a meal, of course, this is going to be a dip. I'll get the serving dish. Take this out. Take my plastic spatula here. And those of you who are comedians in the audience are saying, hey, what if he burns his hand or his shirt catches on fire? It's not going to happen. Okay. Not bad. Not bad. All right. Last touch, just something, again, aesthetics are something that you should keep in mind, especially if you're cooking for guests. Take the extra step to make it look nice as well as taste nice. We have a beautifully presented, or at least a colorful dip here. Take a little paprika, just an additional coloring. It's not going to add any flavor, but you add a little bit to the top. It gives it just a kind of a browned look, a little bit of a toasted look. It looks red, and that looks pretty. So there we have it. What do we call it? I don't know. It's a dip. It's sea leg dip. It's an efficient seafood dip. It's for our guests here at the open house. Thanks for watching. I'm Jay Wiencko. Join us here at Studio G anytime you wish.